Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the 8th episode of Small Talk. And today's discussion is going to be based around big weddings versus small weddings and kind of looking at how much maybe the Asian or Bengali culture kind of forces, or not necessarily forces, maybe pushes people to do certain things that you might not want to do or might not need to do. Yeah, and if it's if it's okay to kind of how we feel about it and stuff like that as well.
So should we start off with our own wedding?
Go on.
Well, actually, we did our nikah 6 months prior to our walima. So Islamically, the walima is usually often done with the nikah, or a lot of people generally tend to do it together.
Yeah.
We obviously,
or a day or two after.
Yeah, so we obviously was unintentionally we had a 6 months gap.
Yeah, we had our
reasons. We didn't mean to.
We couldn't find venues, and then obviously there's few emergency family things that happened.
Yeah.
That kind of pushed
our
it back
wedding date,
to December, but it wasn't on intention. I think our plan was to have our walima done as early as possible, but it just got pushed back about twice.
Yeah.
Again, not our fault. So neither is anyone else's fault.
Yeah. And then the other thing, like you said, the wedding venue and and booking a wedding venue is actually probably one of the stressful things about a wedding planning, because you have to book in advance. And obviously we didn't. I even think 3 months is cutting it close, because the reality is, especially if you're trying to get married during like school holidays,
which most people are anyway.
Oh my gosh, it's jam-packed. Weekends generally seem to be busy as well. So to be able to find the right date and to be able to find a free date that suits everyone and everyone's schedule, it is actually really hard to find. And if you don't have like a day in mind early on, obviously, because ours changed twice, so we really was doing it super last minute, actually, considering the fact that we could have had more time to kind of.
We weren't realistic in terms of looking for the early dates, because we really didn't give the venues a lot of time, and we knew all the slots would be booked, but we thought let's try it to find anything, but we just couldn't. So it was unrealistic that obviously we would have the walima straight after, because obviously how quickly our marriage kind of progressed from let's say our initial meeting to our parents being involved in terms of like meeting your parents meeting me and my parents meeting you and the families meeting each other, then to the nikah. It was pretty quick. It was probably within
we got married within 4 months of our first meeting.
Yeah, and I think probably about a month and a half after when literally our parents had met.
Yeah, so then we had obviously we met in February, and our nikah was in June. And essentially, I think about a month and a half before.
About 2 months. I think our parents met like just in March, and maybe end of March or maybe beginning of April, and so it was May and June.
Maybe because it was before you guys went on holidays,
Easter holiday.
Isn't it? Yeah. So we had the nikah, and actually the nikah was hosted by my family. So we had about 70 people for that event, and it was like immediate families, which was really tricky because obviously your side of the family is really big. So one of the reasons why it made it harder to find something super. Mind you, we planned this wedding and this nikah within a week. Yeah. So it was super, super, super last minute. And so the restaurant we ended up getting was about 70 people that it could host. And obviously, unfortunately, with that, it made it really hard on like who could come to the wedding, to the nikah. Your immediate uncles came to the nikah.
Well, yeah, most of the immediate, but I mean, other than few
Cousins
cousins
and
and
yeah,
stuff that I probably would have liked them to have come, but it is what it is. It was a
yeah.
small venue. I mean, it's not. It was a small venue in terms of, but it was like I said, it's last minute because
Again, I
we
think if
literally
we
said because we literally said let's or our parents literally said let's have the nikah done on the 30th, and they said it like on a Sunday, and I think the 30th fell next Sunday, so it's literally 7 days to find a venue, to find catering, which is really difficult, and then to prepare for it as well. So it
yeah,
was
exactly,
extremely
because we didn't
difficult.
have outfits or anything, and we had to like obviously scramble around and actually get things sorted out. And so yeah, so it was about 70 people for that nikah, and the nikah was done at my home, and so one thing that obviously we did it in a week, and alhamdulillah, I think generally it turned out really well. In the week that we planned it, we were able to get everything sorted out. Now we come into the other cultural aspects of weddings, which is gift giving and hamper making, which is all like part of, I don't know, the Bengali culture.
It's not just Bengali culture. I think it's probably just South Asian.
I don't think it
Yeah,
is.
it is. I think in people in India do it as well. I don't know about Pakistan. Oh, no, definitely people in Pakistan do it as well.
No, my friend didn't do anything
well, your
like
friend didn't
that.
do it, but
But that no, but I'm saying generally speaking, yeah, it is normal to do gift giving, but like I guess I don't know, maybe specifically in the Bengali community, we do very like extravagant hamper making and decorating,
what?
and so that was the other aspect to like preparing for the 1 week that we had. We wanted to give gifts, and do you know what, it is nice to give gifts, because you're welcoming.
No, gift giving is fine. I think giving gifts is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong. I
No,
personally
as in,
nothing.
I think it's nice to give it, but are we taking it too far with how extravagant, or how much time and effort and energy is put into actually wrapping these gifts up,
Yeah, so
and decorating it? Because I did find, obviously my family is so small, so for us the last time we had to do like any hamper making was 10 years prior for my cousin's wedding. So for our family it's just not like a normal thing. And so I remember when it was obviously my time to get married, I knew it was customary, like I knew people did it, but I didn't realize, again, 10 years was the last time I did a big, like, getting involved in making the hampers thing. And I didn't realize how much time, effort, energy goes into actually making these hampers. Now, obviously, everyone's always happy to do it. It does make the wedding home feel like a wedding, because you're making all of these gifts and wrapping things up. But the reality is, especially I think with a lot of family members, generally speaking, the women are making the hampers, and like if you've got kids and stuff like that, how do you make the
yeah,
time?
but I don't think men really care that much about hampers anyway. So that's
I know,
think,
but
I think
then
it's more of a women thing anyway.
yeah, but then are we doing this to ourselves? Are we putting so much pressure that we have to give it?
No, because like,
but then do you not think then, because the men don't get as involved with the hamper making, do you think then if we were to completely neglect it and not do it that way, wouldn't there be like a cultural issue
what?
there?
No, I
As in,
don't.
like,
No,
family would be like,
I think
because the older generation might be like, oh, how come you didn't give it like this, and vice versa, which is the other issue.
but that's because it's because you made it, or not you, but that's because people have made it, so like a regular thing, not regular. It's become a thing that you do, or that you have to do.
Yeah, but this is now where the question comes into play. At what point? I mean, if, let's say for argument's sake, if we didn't do it, do you not think your family would have been offended, or vice versa? If you didn't do it, you know, I do think my family would have been like, oh, we were kind of expecting that
No,
sort
but I
of thing.
think
But
no. If
but then we've put that pressure on
no,
ourselves
but
now,
if you
haven't we?
no, but if you spoke, let's say the elders in our family both spoke and said, you know what, we were not going to do. We're gonna do. We'll give you. You know, we're gonna do gift exchange. That's fine, but we're not gonna make no tals. We're just gonna do it just generally. I think if both people agreed, I don't think anyone can say, oh, you know, why didn't you do it? What if you agree to, if you agree, okay, no, we'll make tiles and whatnot. Then if you don't bring anything, then yeah, that's an issue. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving gifts. It's just the way it's done, and I'm sure the person that or whoever's first originally came up with this, oh, let's make tiles, had the right intention. You know, we want to make it look nice and give it.
Yeah.
However, it's become to a point now where a lot of people, sometimes it becomes like competition. Oh, they bought 5, we need to bring 6 or 7, or they bought 10, we need to bring 20, and it's just become like you're trying to one up the other family or whatnot. Some now. Luckily for us, it wasn't that bad to a point. You know, it was like it was too much. But there are people that take it as you know, that we're going to try and do as much as we can. And if you have the time and if you have the resources and if you've got people that are willing to do it, that's fine. But I think if you were to go, let's say if my dad and your dad spoke and said, look, let's not do tiles and we're just gonna exchange gifts.
No, but what if you don't have that conversation? I don't think a lot of a lot of families have that conversation of, oh, we expect tiles and we don't expect tiles. I think it's just a general norm now that if I'm getting my daughter married to your son, we expect you to give her gifts tiles.
My dad had a conversation with your dad about that, or I think had at least with your cousin, where he said, okay, we'll bring tiles, but it won't be too much, and so we won't try and overdo it. If you are willing to bring some, then we'll also bring some. But I think I know for a fact that my dad had a conversation with someone in the family.
I don't know if that.
I think it was a cousin.
Must have been.
But then I don't know if she relayed the information back to you guys.
No, she did. I think she obviously did, because we did end up making tiles. But I guess for us that was like an automatic assumption of, yeah, we'll give tiles because obviously that's what's kind of quote unquote expected. Yeah, now, but isn't it?
No, but let's say you want that conversation to be had, and then let's say your dad wasn't doesn't speak, right? Then you or mum or anybody else, if you want that conversation, then you raise it and you say, look, can you actually make that point that let's not.
But do you know? Okay, this is where I'm gonna come from this point of view. If the bride's family approaches the groom's family and says, we don't want tiles, or vice versa, they might then approach it as, oh, their family is being cheap. Do you get it? Which is the other issue now, because putting in that time, putting in that effort, it constitutes that how much you care about, I guess, the relationship, and how much you care about gift giving, and you know how much you want to welcome the family into your home.
That's like, wrong, isn't it? So
I know,
but it's because
I'm saying it from that point of
view. But what I'm saying is the only reason that is an expectation, or the only reason that is an issue, is because it's been done for so long. People just expect it that you're going to be given gifts, or you're going to be given gifts in a certain way on a really nice design tile, which is, I think, nonsense.
Yeah.
Why can't, if for example, if you to buy me a suit, why can't you just give me that suit in a suit bag? I appreciate that it looks nicer, on a tile, but is that really necessary?
I agree. It does get a bit too excessive, and I think now, especially with TikTok and Instagram, it's just mind-boggling, some of these like videos that I've seen of people doing like hampers and tile giving, and I'm just like, whoa, this is so excessive. And it's nice that you want to give it, but now are we doing it specifically because we want to share with people that this is what we're giving, and like has it lost its meaning there?
No, but I don't think. Also, I don't think we can generalize and say, I'm sure there are some people who are doing it just to show off, but I want to think that most people are doing it because they want to do it. Like,
no, I agree they want to do it, but what I'm saying is that now, because before, when we used to do the tile giving, it was with like the immediate family. Everyone used to come around, like when the bride used to get her tiles, her whole family would come around to see it, but like it wasn't like shared on like social media and things like that. It wasn't really a customary thing to do, like to share it. Now obviously with all of these apps, you know, there's loads of wedding planning and like, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there.
But why is it so wrong to share it on an app?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing it, but my question is, because you're now seeing so many different ways of doing it, are you now enforcing something more extravagant than what you might have done had you not seen it on Instagram and TikTok?
I think that's with most things on Instagram and TikTok anyway.
Yeah.
Even general people lifestyle, where obviously people post stuff that are great about, you know, their life, everyday life, like you. But that's not their way of living every single day. But yeah, I know what you mean, because then it raises the, you know, expectation that, oh, you know what, this is how they did it, so let's try and do that, let's emulate that, or let's actually do it better than them. And so it just becomes, like you said, it just becomes like a cycle of bettering other people.
Yeah, like a competition.
But then that's why hopefully people, or when we get older, or even with our parents, I think you'll be fine, where we might be able to have these conversations with the next person and say, look, I don't think this is necessary, so we'll try and keep it to a minimal. If not, let's just not do it that way, and we'll just exchange the gifts. For example, the way, you know, your clothes or whatever hampers that we gave, let's just give it, you know, I don't know if it's in a bag. The only thing is, I don't know if it'd be nice in a bag, but if that's what somebody wanted to do, let's do it like that way.
So this is the thing. I personally am against like that, like the over the top hampers. Not because it's not nice, it's beautiful, and you know what, if people want to do it, it's, you know, by all means do it. But I do think there's a now added pressure that because it's now so normal and so like customary, that it puts a lot of pressure, especially in a wedding household. Everything's already so hectic as it is. Like, the last thing you want to be doing is wrapping up loads of different gifts and loads of different tiles. I like the idea of doing tiles for like food items and like, you know, mishti and sweets and stuff like that. But I do think with like the clothes giving, you know, there's nothing wrong with a gift bag, you know, especially if it's for like the immediate family. I understand that you might want to put a bit more emphasis on the stuff you're giving to the groom specifically, or the bride specifically. Actually, with our wedding time, your Barbie made my wedding outfit hamper, with just the scarf and like all the other like accessories. Rather than trying to figure out how to create, like, put the dress in a hamper. And I was like, honestly, like, even the scarf thing, like, really appreciated it. It looked beautiful, but it is a lot of work, you know, to do, to try and figure out how to wrap a big dress and make it look nice. And even with all the other saris, so like in our culture, the bride generally gets about 5 items of clothing with accessories. And again, is that too excessive? Is that another thing that we've kind of made so customary that it's now expected? Because
no, I don't think that's too excessive. I think
it's nice to give it, but is that expectation?
If it's within your means, I don't see why it should.
That's the other thing. If it's within your means, but again, with the expectation of all of these, like, you know, even my brother recently got married. He didn't realize how much actually went into planning the wedding, and like, he didn't realize.
Do you think that's been a bit naive though?
To some extent, I think so. Yes, he knew there was all of this stuff going on, I think, but then he didn't realize how costly it all added up to. I think that's the other thing, because it's easy to say, I'm going to give 5 outfits to someone, and then you think about, actually, then you got to think about jewelry, you got to think about, you know, a handbag, and it's expensive. Weddings are expensive, honestly. So with my hampers for our wedding time, like, you know, all the saris and stuff like that, I just got given it in a suitcase, and I think that was the best thing ever, because do you know
No,
how
but those
easy
are
it was?
those are the those are the extra 5 ones, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not I don't think anyone was planning to make that into a thal. That would have been too long and
No,
too
but this is the
much.
thing. People do it for each individual outfits. Do you get it?
Honestly, I have never seen.
Maybe your family haven't. And to be fair, your family is so big, you guys are probably quite used to doing it a certain way. Whereas with my family, like we've seen other people's hampers, and they do like each individual outfit with the, you know, accessories, and I just think it's just so excessive. So when I think actually your mum and my mum talked about how, you know, these was supposed to be given, and your mum I think just said, oh, is it okay if we just give it in a suitcase, you know? And I think it was just the my wedding one and the day after outfit that was like decorated and all of that. And my mum was like, that's absolutely fine, because do you know what, it's just so much work
Well, that's it,
that
isn't
goes
it?
into it, right? And it's just so excessive. And it's nice if you can do it, if you've got the time, you know, if you've got the energy to do it. But during the stressful period of a wedding, I just don't see how that could be possible. And as the bride, when I received that suitcase full of stuff, like, it was so easy to show everyone what was in it and then literally zip it up, have it ready, because it needed to go back to this house anyway. Like, it just made it so much more convenient for me to not then have to unpack every hamper, put it away, unpin things, you know, do all of that stuff. Because for me, alhamdulillah, it was easy. It was all already packed and nicely put together that I could show my family, and then I could also just pack it away. So I guess for me, like, I think, yeah, maybe doing each individual outfit hampers are a bit too excessive. I think some hampers, how many hampers do you think
No,
is
but I
too
think
many hampers then?
no, I think that there is something nice about hampers though, where, for example, I agree. You know, there is too much. Like, you know, like the sweet ones, the mishti ones, the one of the sanasur and all that stuff. I think, I don't know.
Yeah, food
Personally,
hampers I think is nice to
no,
give.
no, but even I think those are too much as well. I think clothes hampers are fine. With not all clothes hampers, certain ones. Like, for example, like your wedding dress or whatnot, right? That was fine. Because there's something nice, or the jewelry one, right? People usually give the jewelry one in a hamper as well.
Yeah,
Um,
the
and
main outfit
so I think,
basically.
no, there's something nice about that, because I know it's a lot of effort, but from just kind of being around during the obviously wedding time, and I saw how obviously, even though it was a lot, it was stressful, and there was a lot of kind of going back and forth to buy certain things and all that stuff, but it was actually quite nice to see everyone being, because when the hampers were made,
Yeah, everyone's
literally
together.
everyone was in our house, so it was
Yeah,
quite nice to see everyone, even like the kids, me, my brother, everyone as cousins, that we were helping out, even doing something little, but it was just nice seeing everyone in the house. That's one thing. So I don't necessarily think how, get. I mean, you can get,
it's a nice bonding
you
experience.
can get rid of it if you want to,
No,
but
because
but
I get that. As
but the
in,
other hold on, the other nice thing about it is, it is nice to have it in a hamper, because then you can, when your family come over, you can show them that, look, this is what they've given to us, not to show off anything. Same thing with you, with your dresses, or with your jewelry and everything. I'm sure it was nice, again, not to show off, but it was just nice to have it in, presented in a way where your family came over and they could see, right? So that's why I don't I don't necessarily think you I mean, if you want to, you can get rid of it, but I think some is okay.
no. So
But it's just,
I'm not saying to get rid of it. I'm saying I think we've just taken it a little bit too far.
yeah.
I personally think, yes, the main wedding outfit, the jewelry, the shoes, whatever the groom's wearing, the sherwani,
And the cost adds up.
yeah, and hampers are not cheap, hampers are really expensive actually. And you're spending a lot of money just on the baskets alone. Forget about whatever you're putting inside it. It is adding up, right? But I do think, yes, it's nice to get hampers. Definitely, I totally agree with that. I personally think doing some nice food hampers and doing like the main two
Or the
outfits.
Goa hampers.
Yeah, like those
Pan.
things.
The
Yeah,
pan one
those.
is nice.
No, those ones are nice. Those are like more like.
Cultural ones.
Yeah, that one's very much. That one is like the ones that the mums sit and do together, and they're like chatting away, which
Everyone
is
loves
quite
that
nice.
one.
Yeah, and it's the one where you're like, okay, how are we gonna make the pan hamper look good? I remember we were discussing it for a long period because I was like, I have no idea. So someone else just figure it out, please, and let me know how we're doing it. Part of, the bride's hampers is being gifted like toiletry items, makeup. So those things also add up. Again, makeup is not cheap. So it is very costly, especially if it's coming from the groom's side, giving you these gifts. And that's the other part of, wedding planning. I mean, you as the groom, like, how did you find the actual cost of, literally not just the hall hiring, food, catering, it's all of the additional things that you were giving to me as a gift.
I was prepared for it. I had I had this conversation with my dad anyway, and even when I started working, he's like, start saving up, even if it's little by little, start saving up because you're gonna need it at some point. And maybe that was me, thinking too far ahead or whatnot. But because I did.
At what age did you start with saving up then?
Well, I'd always been saving up. Even as soon as I started working, I'd been saving up. So it's not that I was saving when I was doing part-time work.
Right.
So that's one good habit, alhamdulillah, Dad got me into, which was no matter how much you earn that month or that week, try and put something aside every month, towards, even if it's not towards the wedding, but generally just put it towards something that you might need it in the future or whatnot. So I had always been saving up, and so when I started full-time work, it was just a habit that I continued doing. I had a savings account and I put money towards into my savings account every month, and when my salary increased, I increased the amount I put into my savings every month. And so I was kind of prepared for it, but I also knew that, because I saw my brother obviously get married, and I was, I wasn't young, I was adult, so I knew obviously the cost roughly, of, how much it costs to get married and stuff like that. So even if it's, because even I think his wedding was even bare minimum in terms of like all these gift giving and whatnot, just like ours was. I don't think we went over the top, but even then I kind of knew how much roughly I had to have.
Roughly, how much does it cost for a wedding?
What, everything, including mahar, everything?
Everything included. Mahar, which is dowry, that is given to the bride.
Probably around, or if you just go, not bare minimum, if you just do everything like, okay, fine,
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of like happy with it, nothing too extravagant, but nothing either too kind of like small, then you're probably, all together for bride and groom, you're probably looking around maybe 40k now, maybe 35, 40, maybe even a bit more now, obviously with all the prices going up a little bit as well. I think you're probably looking at more. So that's together, but then but it doesn't always work out to be split in half, because depending on
what's
agreed upon as well. For example, the initial cost for the groom might be a bit more, because you're paying you're paying mahar, maybe the ring, maybe the whole, you go 50-50, whatnot, even if you might not, the food, if you've got more guests or whatnot. So I think initially probably the groom side is a bit more in terms of the cost wise, how much they contribute towards it.
More likely the groom side is spending more regardless, because you have to think about, you have the mahar to think about.
Yeah.
Another thing that is now more customary is the gift giving of gold jewelry. Now, it can be included as part of the mahar, the dowry. However, generally speaking, a lot of people tend to have, money for the mahar, and then the gold is actually given as a gift. Now, again, gold is not cheap.
Wait, but it's not just become customary now. I think gold in our culture,
Yeah, it's been
it's
around for
it's
years.
always been.
Yeah.
Like I know and this is maybe going back like a long time, but I've heard like elderly people have said that also sometimes before they used to give with the they used to give like as a gift they used to give plots of land sometimes as well. So
No.
so
So
that's
this is the other thing. So with our current situation, it's more likely that mahar is a financially given.
cash.
Cash, yes, cash or direct debit or however you want to do it. And then additionally to that, you're given a gold jewelry set. Now that jewelry set, if you're looking at a really nice one, could be up to 10k.
But that's the one thing with that is it's gold, so it's never going to lose its value. So you're not really losing out in the sense that, or you've given something that's going to depreciate. It might actually increase in value. So it might actually, and then because a lot of times, sometimes people even don't, don't use it that often, and so sometimes people
Well,
just
this
sell it
is
off
where
and then do something
no.
else with it, or just take the cash and maybe invest it in something, or even like give it to the poor and whatnot.
No, but this is the other thing though. I think my generation of ladies perhaps don't want to wear gold jewelry. And it depends. Again, I wear my gold jewelry, so the one that was given to me when your family first met me, I wear it all the time around my neck. Now, the wedding gold that you guys gave me, that gets worn to like weddings and big events, right? But I think the other thing is then, yeah, like you're saying, gold doesn't go down in value, so it is obviously nice to be given gold as a gift because the value could always increase, and where you need it you can use it. But the other thing in having gold that you don't wear is that you have to pay zakat on top of on it. So is it just wasteful if you're not
No, I
gonna
don't.
wear something like
One
that?
one thing I'd say is I don't think I don't think anyone should see zakat as being a burden because you've got to pay 2.5% on it.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you're holding on to a gold jewelry set, and you're paying the zakat. Obviously, it's not a lot to pay the zakat. You know,
You should be happy to pay it.
yeah, exactly. But which is why, like, even though I don't wear my gold set often enough, I still like to have it, like to keep it. But it's a tricky one because I do think it's expected, I think, in our culture now that a gold set is given. Now I don't know.
Let me ask you a question then. Do you think nowadays, if the wedding, let's say, process was happening, and then the guy said to the girl, you know what, I'll just give the mahar. I'm not going to give you any gold or any like ornaments. Do you think she'd accept it?
Well, this is the thing. I think now it's expected. I think the bride's family would be like,
No, but do you think the girl herself would accept it?
maybe, perhaps
I don't think so.
Perhaps she will, perhaps she won't. I don't know, because I know I know someone that they said, obviously, we want to give you a set of gold, and she was like, actually, I don't want to wear gold. I don't wear gold particularly. Would you be able to give me pearls instead? So they got her a really nice pearl set instead, which was a lot cheaper, number one, to get something like that. And for her, actually, it just made more sense because she actually ended up using it for her day-to-day job as well. But I think you saying, I think now, because it's so expected and it's so normal, I think you're right. To some extent, I don't think girls would accept not getting like a gold set. Yeah, I think if she was okay with it, I don't think her parents would be okay with it. I think again, another thing that's so quote unquote customary now, that it would it would make it seem like you're being cheap by not giving it. And then the other issue then massively falls down to how much can the groom actually afford, and are we being considerate to his financial situation when it comes to planning the wedding, booking a hall, doing all these hampers and all these 5 sets of clothing and giving a gold set and buying the wedding band. Like, it's a lot of money. Like, it's not a joke. It's serious money. And, you know, this is where the question comes into play. Is it worth doing a big wedding when you're spending that much money?
Well, look, it's all dependent on how, you know, how much the groom how much the groom is kind of able to you know finance. Yeah. Like, if it's within your means, I don't see why, you know. I mean, some people might go, you know what, even if it's within my means, you know, why would I spend that much or whatnot? Okay, and that's fine, perfectly fine. But I think if it's within your means,
it's wrong.
I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest or ask that they do spend a bit of money on the wedding. And the only reason I'm saying it is because I was happy to. I wasn't, you know, because like I said, I budgeted, and like I kind of put aside a certain amount of money anyway, because I knew.
But you were mentally ready for to be the case.
But then why shouldn't men be ready for that? Why they know when they get to 25, 26, 27 or 28, they're going to be asked these questions, you know, or they're going to be asked, they're going to have to start preparing for marriage. So why should they not
have we now made it so normal to have big weddings that are very costly at the detriment of men having to save up? And now with even like the cost of living, it's really tricky, isn't it? Because you look at how you're saying it's going to be at least 30k.
No, more than that now. For both sides, more than that.
Yeah, a little bit more than that.
Probably looking at around 50, let's be honest.
Yeah, it is really expensive now, unfortunately. And the reality is, I think, you know, it's so easy to say, oh, we can cut back on X, Y, and Z. But then I think there's a lot of judgment if you were to cut back on X, Y, and Z. True. And if you weren't going to give, you know, what is expected, what is normal, like hamper giving and gold set giving, people are gonna like the bride side or the groom side, whichever side it is, they're gonna judge one another about these things.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's because it's become like such a normal thing to do, or like we expect it to be done. If you don't do it, then you're a
cheapskate, basically.
Then the first reaction is, oh, you know, you're a cheapskate, you don't want to spend money and whatnot.
And that's not the case with everyone, but the argument is very easy to make that, you know, I'm sure there's people saying stuff about,
like, put it this way,
could you not?
Rather than spending that, let's say 50 or 60k, if you only spend, let's say, 20k on the wedding, I mean, even then, that's obviously, some might go as a lot, but let's say you'd spend 20k, then you still have about 30, 40k, and you can actually put that towards something that you want to invest in.
This is the argument. I know we said big wedding versus small wedding, but a small wedding can, again, equally be quite as costly. But like a big wedding, if you're spending upwards of 50k, is that better to invest in a property for the future bride and groom? Like, wouldn't
even
it be
investment
better
in something?
Wouldn't it be better to put that money towards something that is for their future, essentially, right? You know, I don't regret us having a big wedding. Now, our wedding was in December, and our guest total was what, 600? 650, something like that. And the reality is, I mean, you know, my family is quite small, but your family was very big and, you know, very extended. That's why it made sense that you'd want to invite all your family members.
See,
there.
one thing with that is, with the walima and the feeding, I actually don't mind inviting everyone that I know or have, because I feel like, for me personally, and I think it's the same thing with my dad as well, and I think the same thing with my family, is that I want them to be there and to share that day, my happiness. I want to share that with everybody. So I personally don't mind this. So this is one thing where when I spoke to Dad, I don't mind spending extra on food, feeding people.
Well, this is the thing. The walima itself is about feeding your friends, your family, your colleagues, your
Neighbors.
acquaintances. You know, that's actually the main reason for doing the walima. Now, obviously, if you're gonna have 500 guests, you need a venue. So then you have to think about the venue cost. But then everything after that, it's additional, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the staging,
The dress.
the outfits that we wear,
The cars.
how much, the cars, all of that additional stuff is, I guess more of a personal choice to make on whether or not you have the funding for it. And to be fair, like, again, hiring out a venue and catering for 500 people, it's a lot of money already spent.
Yeah.
So I can see people
That's around
arguing
13K already.
Yeah, I can
Probably
see
more
people
than
a little bit more than that, I think,
Yeah.
actually. I can see people arguing the case of, actually, if I'm spending 16K already just on food and a hall, I may as well add an additional 10K on decorations or whatever, right?
10K?
No, like decorations, cars, like, it all adds up, innit? It's all a very decorative thing to, like, you want to go and you want to be wowed by the hall and the decorations, and then you might have, the chocolate fountain and all of these other additional...
Again, it's all if it's within your means. I don't think it's... if you want to do it and it's within your means, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I agree.
Even if it's within your means and you don't want to do it, that's also fine. And if it's not within your means and you can't do it, that's also fine.
Yeah, I think...
But I think we have to kind of read the situation and see what the position of the groom is or what the position of the bride is in that sense, and make it easier for them, so that they don't feel like I'm being forced, or my hand's been forced and I have to do this. Because the last thing you want to do, and this I think I didn't have to do it. I don't think my brother had to do it, but the worst thing is when you don't have enough money, or it's not within your means to spend that kind of money, but because your family pressure that they want a big wedding, you go along with it, and you end up borrowing money to get married, and you borrow, and so you start a marriage off on a debt.
Yeah,
now,
which I don't like that.
That could actually put a lot of strain on the marriage, because the groom might be pissed at the girl for and her family and his own family for actually getting him to spend that much money.
Yeah.
Because you're starting,
which has happened. That has happened before, where actually you've
and it causes tension.
You've gone into the marriage, you're now wedded and you're living together, but he's just realized, I've still got like 3 or 4 people to pay off. And it's just not fun, is it?
Yeah.
But when it comes to that, actually, if you can sit down and actually discuss having a smaller wedding and actually putting maybe a bigger chunk of what you have into something that can go towards your future together, I mean, that's also a great thing to do, I mean, for us, we had the big wedding and it happened just before COVID hit. And I think the stress of planning the wedding, made it not as fun anymore. Do you get it?
For you?
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it was fine.
I wasn't overly stressed, to be fair, because even though we didn't have that much time to do it in, I think I, ordered my dress early, made sure we had a good caterer, made sure we had a good venue. I think the key things, fundamentally the key things were done, and they were all looked after. Everything else surrounding the wedding stuff, like again with the hampers and stuff like that was just a personal choice to make if you wanted to do it, right? But it did add to the stress. And I remember just thinking, I can't wait for this wedding hoo-ha to be over, and I just want to enjoy the day itself, and hopefully it goes as smoothly as possible, right?
Yeah.
And alhamdulillah, like, honestly, I really did enjoy our wedding day. Like, I started off not feeling the best, like, I think most people were ill because it was a
Yeah,
December wedding.
we were both ill.
Yeah, and so I wasn't feeling the best driving up to the hall. But then I got into the hall, I saw the decorations, we did our little photo shoot. It was just really nice. Again, photography is really expensive as well now. It's ridiculous. Like we didn't even get a videographer.
I'm glad.
I'm still I always go back and forth on whether or not I should have gotten a videographer or not, because part of me is like, it would have been nice to have a video footage of our wedding, but the other part of me is like, how often do people actually watch that video? Like, I'm more likely to look at our pictures, which I do often. Okay, not that often. But yeah, I genuinely contemplated if I wanted a videographer, but I was like, I don't want to spend like 2K for videography. I know it's nice and like you're spending all this money, but do you know what? Loads of people were taking videos anyway, and I just thought, do you know what? I'm just gonna get all these videos put together, and I can make my own video, or I could do something with that. So I'm glad I did just hire out a photographer. But again, it all adds up.
Just go back to what when you said something to do with if you have the conversation of can we do a smaller wedding and put it towards something. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I think sometimes especially the grooms, they not pressured, but because obviously the family wants a bigger wedding and you don't really mind it and you go along with it. If you're uncomfortable, I think you should say it. Look, I can't. This is not within my means, and so I can't. I can't do so. I can't do that because it's too much or whatnot. Because I think sometimes people, because they just want to make everybody happy, they just go along with it and say yes, and then by the end you realize, damn, I'm in 10-20K debt. Or I haven't got any money left whatsoever after this wedding. What am I supposed to live on for the next month or two?
Exactly, that's the other thing, isn't it?
So I think that conversation, I know it's a difficult conversation to have with your parents, or with the elders.
Yeah, I think our elders expect big functions because of big family.
But I think they would. I don't know about other families, but I know definitely my family. I think if I was to sit down with my dad or with anybody else, with my uncles or not, and I was actually explaining, look, I don't actually want to spend that much money on the wedding, and I would like you to propose this to the bride's side, where you would rather do something small and then let him or her, both of them, invest in that money, the money they have left over that you would have usually spent on a wedding, or in something in something they want to do in the future, whether it's investing into, let's say, I don't know, into a home or whatnot. I don't think that's a bad conversation. I think that's a conversation that
Why didn't you suggest that?
What?
Why did you not push for a smaller wedding with maybe putting money aside actually for future?
Because I got bare peas, fam. I'm joking. Because I wanted something. Our wedding wasn't massive, by the way. Our wedding was, I think, I'd say it was average.
To our cultural standards, it wasn't massive.
But I wanted something.
To be fair, I think we invited 600 people, but I think about 450, 500.
No, about 500. Yeah, 500. That's another thing. Actually, I know my dad and I do. We actually, when we did the guest list. And when we did when we saw how many people we want to invite, we actually sat down and counted, like, okay, this is the obviously family we're inviting. How many people are there from here? And like we actually counted everybody, and he came. It was obviously more because a lot of people that he didn't invite or he wasn't able to invite because obviously the limitation was 650 people or 700.
Okay, as a bride and groom, be honest. How many of the people your father invited or your family invited did you really truly know genuinely that you wanted there to be present?
A lot.
Okay, aside from your immediate family, because yours is 450, right?
No, wait.
Out of the 450, how many do you think you personally knew like that?
Because
I think that's the other thing that we have
of the 450, about 100, maybe 150 were people that I knew immediately.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
But then there were people like my dad's friends that he had invited to come I had seen them when I was maybe a little, when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however old I was. So I hadn't seen them since then. So yes, I couldn't remember or recognize them from there. But it was nice to be reintroduced to them and go, oh, you came to lived with us for a couple of days and whatnot. So yes, there were probably loads of people like that. And I wasn't able to go and speak to everybody, but I do. I do appreciate that they came.
Yeah, but is that the other issue we have now with inviting so many people? Now, obviously, walimas, it's better. The more you invite, the better it is for your.
Well, I think, I don't know, and this may be mainly because from where we're from Bangladesh, and I think like people around from where we're from,
Which is
we generally tend to actually invite a lot of people to the weddings, where I think people from other areas have kind of like reduced that number to only maybe just the immediate family or the extended, sorry, not immediate, the extended family and maybe some couple of friends and whatnot, family friends. But I do not mind, and I probably prefer to invite all of these people that you might go, or you don't know them or you don't recognize them, but I've met them at some point in my life. And they're clearly important to my dad, or they're clearly important to my mom, they're clearly important to my brother, because my brother obviously invited his friends as well. I invited my friends, whatnot, and my dad invited his friends as well that he knew from like long time ago that they were in this country, and he'd met them, or he knew them, and then he's still in contact with them, and so he invited some of his friends that I hadn't seen for about 10, 15 years.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something, and this could be taken the wrong way. But do you think part of the reason why our community has a lot of big weddings is to also show off that they can host a big wedding?
Maybe.
Like, do you get it? Like, I know
there are some.
Even my dad invited people that we hadn't seen for X amount of years. But was it necessary to invite these people that were not as close to anymore? Yeah, my dad probably catches up with them, but like me personally, I don't know them like that, or I haven't spoken to them like that where we're in regular contact.
I think that is probably one of the things that happens. I think is where sometimes not just parents, but I think like families do want to maybe show off. I don't know, but I'm gonna give them benefit of the doubt because I don't know what they're thinking, and I don't.
Yeah,
but I'm sure there are people that want to show off. But for me personally,
yeah, I mean,
I didn't mind it. I was actually happy that my dad invited some of his friends that he's in contact with them, but he hasn't seen for maybe a couple of years.
Yeah,
or some of his friends that I haven't seen for about 10, 15 years, but I know I've met them at some point. I don't mind that. I was actually happy. I think someone came up and said, "Oh, you came to this country in '99, and I saw you then, and I haven't seen you since, but I still speak to your dad." And I was really glad that he came up and spoke to me.
Yeah.
And he brought his wife and he brought his daughter. Yeah. I think a son and daughters or something like that. So I appreciate that, and I'm happy with that actually. And I'm glad that my dad invited these people.
No, I agree. Like, this is what I'm saying. So like, obviously my numbers were much smaller than yours.
But again, that's because that number, or even if it was a bigger number, that would have been within my means. So I was happy to spend that.
Yeah,
if it was let's say something that I couldn't afford, I would have said to my dad, "Look, I can't afford it." And I think I've got open enough relationship with my dad to go, "I can't afford it, so we're gonna have to cut it here." And he would have been fine with it. But because he knew that I had spoken to him before, and I said, "Okay, that's fine," and I was okay with the number. I was okay with if he wanted to actually increase the number, but he was not. He was like, "Let's just keep it to 450."
My dad wanted me to have a small wedding, but then the more we got into the wedding planning, I think the more my dad realized, actually, you're my only daughter, I would like to do something bigger for you.
Oh, that's another good point, because sometimes if you're the eldest son, or if you're the youngest son, or if you're the eldest daughter or the youngest daughter, or if you're the only child, only daughter, only son, sometimes parents, not that because and that's not from show off. I think that's more because they just they're so proud, or they just want to have one last, let's say, big wedding, or the big first wedding,
Yeah.
or have a big wedding for my only daughter or for my only son. I think
It
that's
makes sense.
I think a lot
Yeah.
I think a lot of parents generally want a big wedding because of that reason as well.
Well, yeah. So from our perspective, obviously, I was the first in my immediate, like siblings to get married, and I was also the only girl getting married in my immediate siblings. So for that reason, my dad was like, "No, I want to invite all of these people, and and I want to extend the invite to them." For you, it was the other way around. It was
I was the youngest. I was the last one.
you were the last one to get married. So your dad was like, "Well, actually, you're the only one left to get married. So I'd really like to invite all of my extended friends and family, because this is the only other wedding event we have
For
going
a
for
while.
us." Yeah. No, but just in your immediate
Yeah.
siblings, you're the only one left, and it made sense that your dad would want, or your mom and dad would want something like that.
And I think probably that's for me. I think that's probably another reason why.
I was
Like,
I was like okay with it as well.
yeah, I was okay with
Yeah,
it because
yeah.
I was like, okay, that's fine. Because I like I said, I was okay with it because I was prepared for it. But again, just because you're prepared doesn't mean you have to spend that much. By the way, but like I said, I was happy to spend, and I was happy. I was prepared for it, and I knew that's something that because my parents, you know, wanted, and I wanted to do as well. I was like, okay, I'm happy to spend, and I'm happy to go forward with it.
Okay, let's talk about budgeting. When it comes to caterers and venues, definitely look around. Definitely get quotes from several different catering companies
Yeah.
and venues, because you want to see what's out there first of all initially. I know some people might have like their select choice of where they would like to get married, but realistically it might not be in your budget, so you gotta make sure you're actually going there, talking to them, seeing the venues, and then making sure that you're actually putting a little bit more time into figuring out what your budget is between bride and groom and how you're splitting it, right? So make sure you definitely have a feel around, and go and see these people in person, because you can always haggle the price down.
Yeah.
You can always get them to bring it down to a more reasonable, maybe a more expected price tag that would work for you if you talk to them directly, if you're there visiting them, because you're showing that you're serious about hiring the venue out and whatever. And they always, a lot of these venues have additional stuff like chocolate fountain, things that they can hire out, so you can have that all included into the package. So you definitely want to have a proper chat with.
The other thing I was going to say is, this is where I think having a social media sometimes helps, because I know my sister-in-law, my brother, and at times I tried to as well, but I just couldn't.
He's no good with the social media.
But they actually found deals for me on like Instagram, where people did the decorations, and it worked out that they were actually cheaper to hire these people to do.
Yeah, definitely use that to your advantage as well.
Because that's one good thing about, obviously. There's
With
many,
Instagram,
but there's one good thing about
small businesses.
Yeah, that they're willing to, and you can kind of not just haggle, but the price is a lot more, friendly than, let's say, if you were to go, get something from a shop or something like that. But even with picture taking, right?
Yeah, I got my photographer from Instagram, and she honestly, like, the prices that I was getting quoted were ridiculous, and I liked her pictures to begin with. And when I asked her for a quotation, I was like, this is great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I was going to say, obviously, a lot of the times the groom's family gives a budget to the bride's family for her gifts. So like the 5 saris and things like that. I was very strict with my budgeting when it came to the stuff that he gave me. I know if you're given a certain budget, or if you're not given a budget and they give you a little bit of flexibility there, don't take the piss. like, be reasonable with how much you're spending. If jewelry is costing as much as an outfit, which is like £600, that's just not on. Like, my wedding jewelry could have easily been £600. Oh my gosh. It was, I was like to my mum, I cannot spend £600 on jewelry. I'm sorry. It's artificial jewelry, number one. It's not even gold. It's not like it's going to add value later on.
No, you wore the gold as well, no?
No. But I'm saying this is artificial jewelry. And it's around £600. It's ridiculously expensive. Artificial jewelry is so extortionate, especially for wedding events. It's ridiculous. I bought my whole set for £180. And then on the actual wedding day, I think I went and rushed and got a nose ring, so that was like £15. But again, that was the best deal I found. And actually, funnily enough, I bought the jewelry before I got the dress, I think. I'm pretty sure I did. And I remember my mum saying, my cousin was like, oh, why would you buy the jewelry first? And I was like, well, for £180, this is a bargain. And it was just gold pearls. But she was like, what if you get a colour? Like, what if you want to change the colour of the pearls? I was like, I can change that afterwards if I want to. And that, again, is an additional cost. But my other thing was, be realistic. I want to rewear this set. And this set I have reworn many a times. And I love rewearing it. Like, I really loved my wedding jewelry. That I love rewearing it. I love, like, going to weddings and having it on because it just reminds me of our wedding time. And I think, you know, it's so easy to fall into the trap of, oh yeah, it's going to be expensive, so let's just spend £600. No, trust me, you can find bargains. Green Street, Southall, they do loads of bargains. You can definitely haggle for, you know, the stuff that is for yourself. But yeah, be reasonable with how much you're spending, because not gonna lie to you guys. At the end of the day, the money he's giving you is your money as well. So you need to be smart with your money, basically, is what I'm saying. You know, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't giving you these ridiculous price tags when there was no need for it. You can find beautiful things for a good price.
Make sure you budget, like, or not just make sure you keep a track on everything that you buy, or everything, in terms of whether you buy gifts, because I mean, for me, it was good because I got to obviously see how much I spent. Maybe people don't want to know how much they spent.
Oh no,
because it's depressing.
I think he is.
But I think it was important for me, because then it meant I knew how much obviously I had, or how much was going out, how much I needed, and all that stuff. So it was good for me. But I think just keep a track on stuff. And I think for men, let's say, learn to save. Don't be naive thinking, it's 6-7 years down the line and I can prepare. I'm not saying just because you're saving, you're going to use all that money towards your wedding or whatnot. But do put, money aside.
Listen, yeah, if you're getting married into the South Asian culture, expect it to be a bit costly.
Now, if I was going to say, if
premium,
you could get married to people that outside of culture, but
I know.
But then that brings a whole another issue of how, if you're living with your parents, how they fit in, and what if your parents expect them to adopt your cultural kind of norms, or fit into your culture, or if she expects you to kind of change and fit into her culture or whatnot, or his culture. So that's why I think, I don't know, personally, I feel like it's probably, for me, better to marry not with marry into families that are similar, or I think that's compatibility as well, isn't it? It's like compatibility between the two people and the families. Like, I know for a fact that if, let's say, or not about me, but I know, like, some parents would be like, oh, when my son gets married, I would want my daughter to dress a certain way, or be okay with certain things that we do culturally. And so that's why I think, but that's another topic.
I think that's a whole other topic we could actually look into. I going back to the budgeting thing, actually, you know how you were saying listing it down. I did that. I actually gave myself a expected to spend and how much I did spend. So every time I would save a little bit of money, it was like a nice fist pumping moment for me, because I'm like, yes, I've saved myself £200 on something when it would have maybe cost me 600 or whatever, right? So it is definitely important to keep track of how much you are spending. I think sometimes what can happen is you're doing all this spending and you get you get carried away, essentially, that you don't realize you still got X, Y, and Z to still buy, and you have no funding, you have no money. And then again, the whole borrowing situation can be another issue that you could have. Yeah, I mean, we have rambled on and on and on about this subject, and I think honestly we could easily do another one because there's loads to it. But I hope this was helpful. I hope we brought some interesting issues that we have, I guess, in our community. Well, actually, it's debatable if it's issues, because to some people it really isn't. So doing a big wedding might actually be something that is okay. Yeah, I mean, the whole big
I mean,
wedding...
if you're a millionaire, then spending 50,000 on a wedding is not much, is it?
Yeah, I know.
But if you're only earning about 50k a year, then spending 50k is a lot of money.
Exactly,
on a wedding.
yeah.
So it just depends on how much you're earning and how wealthy you are really, and that's why for some people it'd be perfectly fine, but others it might be too much.
Exactly, and I think so for us, we think big weddings are nice. They're nice if you can afford to have them.
Yeah, spend within your means. Don't go above.
Crazy. Yeah.
Don't go crazy. Even if it is within your means, you should. You can't. I mean, you should try and limit excess spending. Mm-hmm. Like if you can cut on certain spendings because it's not necessary, you should do it. I don't think you should go above and beyond and go crazy, even if it's within your means. Saying,
like the hamper stuff, too many hampers is maybe getting a bit too crazy now.
Because you're just increasing the expectation for the next person. Like you do it, then if you've got younger siblings, your parents are going to expect them to do it as well.
Yeah.
Or probably even do it even better.
Exactly.
So you just,
It is that. That's the other thing, isn't it? But, yeah. Or you can be on the flip side and do a small wedding and save a lot of money. Which, to be fair, with how expensive weddings have gotten since COVID... Oh my gosh.
COVID was probably a blessing for a lot of people, to be fair.
Yeah, a lot of people just was able to save a lot of money and do the small wedding. And, I know loads of people who were like, yeah, we're going to do the nikah and then do a walima properly afterwards, after COVID's finished. But the reality is a lot of people haven't, because what's the point? You're just saving a lot of money. If you've done the nikah and you've fed people during that time, I guess that could class as the walima as well, right? So you might not have to do something big of a function. But yeah, I think we're gonna leave it at this. We want to talk about the mahar in another episode, because I think this one is another one that we've seen a lot on social media about. So that's a big debate, big topic. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this open discussion on big weddings, small weddings, the cost of weddings, and everything in between.
Weddings.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so we shall see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.